Hello, my name is Radzikowska. I work as Kanban trainer at the J Anderson School of Management, and I'm going to answer the most popular Kanban questions. One of the most popular questions in Kanban community is, can we move items backwards on the Kanban board? And actually I also struggled with this question when I started working with Kanban and using Kanban method. And I did some research, but it still didn't help me to understand, should we do it or should we rather not? And the first help came with my colleague who explained this concept to me. So coming back to Kanban manufacturing, we had a huge assembly line where cars were moving from the first elements to the moments when they were put all together. And you can imagine that at some point of this assembly line, there was a defect found in the car. So what they did, instead of moving the whole car back on the assembly line, they rather stopped the line and they were swarming around this car trying to solve the problem. So it gave me some hints, but I wasn't still pretty sure why should we actually move item backwards on the Kanban board. It's just a small tiki, it's not a car that we need to move back. So I started to dig deeper, and actually over discussions and learning, I found that there are four main reasons why we shouldn't do that. The first reason is that you break your work in progress limits. So you establish work in progress limit at each activity in your process. If you decide to move your item backwards, which basically means pushing item back to upstream, where in this upstream activity we are already at our full work in progress limits, we may find ourselves in the situation that actually we cannot do it because we cannot break the WIP limit. But this is a special situation, so what should we do? Should we create an expedite ticket and treat this item differently? Should we break WIP limit only for this one time? You would need to create a special policy for this kind of situation, which already starts adding the complexity to your process. The second problem with moving item backwards is the fact that you may mess up with your metrics. So first of all, with the lead time. So you will keep extending lead time because these items will be waiting in the queues. Because these items will affect not only their own lead time, but also the lead time of all other items which were deprioritized due to moving item backwards. Also, you may find the problem with understanding your cumulative flow diagram because it's not reliable anymore. You may see that the lines on your cumulative flow diagram, instead of going up or just be flat, they start to move down. And one of the reasons for that is that you moved item backward. So you cannot trust your metrics anymore. The third problem is that you ruin your flow. When we move items from left to right on our board, we know where they are, we know what we have already done with them, and we know what's expected to be done next. If there is no rule about it, if items are moving back and forth, left to right or right to left, then we cannot trust what we see, because we don't know what happened on the board and what happened in the process when we didn't look at it. And the fourth reason is that the Kanban, using the Kanban method and designing your flow and designing your process is not only designing the columns on the board, it's something much more. So the Kanban is the knowledge discovery process, and we are mapping dominant activities, which means that if you move your item from left to right, it's not only moving the sticky on the board, it's something more. It means that with every activity, with every movement on the board, you learn something more about this item. Which means that theoretically, if you move something left, you have unlearned what you have learned already about this particular work item. That's why moving item backwards is not something that we recommend, but there is one huge concern. There is one huge element of this whole discussion that also should be mentioned. If you say to yourself, or if you say to your team, people who you work with, we don't move item backwards right now, but so far you did it, it may be a huge stressor to everyone. So sometimes it's better to let the process be in the same way that it was designed. Just make people aware of the consequences of this practice instead of pushing against it. So what you need to do, you need to keep observing your process. If there are any drawbacks of current practice, you should discuss it, being aware of them, and then talk about improvements rather than push against resistance and not achieving any of the results that you expected.